All right, Mohammed Hussain joining me, old classmate of mine, very good friend, joining me on the show today. So we haven't had a guest in about a month now, I suppose it's been, and so me and Mohammed we went to school together. He's also a very big sports fan, and
Huge.
he was a huge sports fan. He's been writing on the Seahawks this
I
year.
love me some cricket.
He loves himself some cricket and some Seattle Seahawks among other things. But we like to spice it up around here on the No Show Sportscast. We're gonna be covering a lot of different things, especially into the new year. A lot of exciting news to come. But in the meantime, we had ourselves a very excellent matchup last night between the San Francisco 49ers and the Seattle Seahawks. Mohammed, of course, believing wholeheartedly Geno Smith to the moon since the beginning of this season. So, me myself, just to clarify, I don't talk a whole lot about my personal opinion on the Seahawks a whole lot on this show. Usually, I just comment on news that's happening around the NFL.
He's
So,
ignorant. That's why he's ignorant. He doesn't understand the vision and the Pete Carroll mentality, which is you run a. Never mind. You pass this. Never mind. Anyways, go ahead.
that's also very true, among other things. But personally, whenever the Seahawks are on, which is every single game, because over here on the West Coast, I get a Fox News channel, which gives us everything Seattle, including the Seahawks game days. Even when it's not Sundays, we're getting Seahawks news. So whenever the Seahawks are on, I try my best to cheer for them because I genuinely want them to be good, much like a casual Canucks fan. So my personal favorite two players in the NFL are Darren Waller and DK Metcalf. And so DK Metcalf is on the Seahawks, which automatically makes me a huge fan of his. Of course, I was cheering for the Seahawks long before I knew who this kid was. Me and him share the same birth age, which is hard to believe because he's looked like a grown man since he was about 16 years old. So we're gonna talk a little bit about this the Seahawks and the 49ers last night. Obviously, from the Seattle point of view, things could have gone a lot better. But Mohammed, my friend,
Yes.
what are your initial reactions to this game as we kind of unpack it a little bit more?
Well, first and foremost, I do want to introduce myself as a PhD in curling. I think that's where really my sports knowledge is comes along, and I try to apply my love for the sport in different ways. Anyhow, yeah, yesterday, I do have something I want to, Pete Carroll, if you're watching this, I do want to just tell you something. You see that? What's that behind me right there now? Cool. It's a mirror, right? Am I right or wrong? Well, I mean, let me look at myself in the
That's a mirror for sure.
mirror, right? Okay. Now we're exposing my 2% pocket. I don't want to obviously, make everyone self-conscious with, how obviously how in shape I am totally. But anyhow, Pete Carroll, let's take a look in the mirror. You realize what we lost to last night? We lost to a third string QB, and most importantly, first and foremost, we let San Francisco have the division. We let them have the division. What's wrong with us, y'all? We're letting a third string QB take us out of here. We got Christian McCaffrey out here running, sprinting around like Usain Bolt. We got our defense getting stripped wide open. We got to take a look in the mirror. We got to readjust. We have to reassess. We can't like Brock Purdy, whatever, Murdy Schmurdy, whatever, Bobby Schmurder,
Whatever you want to call him these
whatever you want
days.
to call him.
His nickname changes as the weeks just go,
Yeah,
as the
I
days go.
nicknames, by the way. There is one nickname that comes to mind from our fellow Mr. Rice, but I'm not going to mention over here because we're a PG broadcast. But I will say, big, Brock. That's what the fill in the blank there. That's what I've heard. Anyhow, point that I'm trying to mention here, Pete Carroll, is if you're watching this, I love you. You know how much love I got for you from 2015 until now. It's still obviously that. But yeah, last night, I think, in all seriousness, I think we got exposed on both ends of the ball. I think defensively, it was like San Francisco just. I mean, there were numerous plays where Geno Smith was just sacked out of the freaking moon, and he kind of had his thing. But I think we're gonna come back. I think we got a couple games to go. We've got I don't know if we're gonna beat Kansas City, but we'll do our thing. Matt Klein, what do you think? Talk to me.
Yeah, absolutely. I made a couple videos about the 49ers. Obviously, one of the most malleable teams, I would say, in the NFL this year. The season starts with Trey Lance, Elijah Mitchell, Deebo Samuel. This is the lens we're looking at for this team. And now we're like, Trey Lance, who? Maybe he can be Mr. 2023. But in the meantime, all our attention is on Brock Purdy and CMC. Deebo's out. Elijah Mitchell, forget about him. Hopefully Deebo can come back in the playoffs. Obviously, from the 49ers' point of view, couldn't care less to me. I love seeing Deebo play. But the division was more or less capable of being attained by the Seahawks. But they were unable to really do a whole lot with that. I do believe they are now 7-7. And so my reaction to this to the game last night was the Seahawks did as much as they could. We all knew that Kenneth Walker, well, first of all, I didn't even know Kenneth Walker was going to be returning last night.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter because the fact of the matter is that the 49ers defense, there's no stopping it. They are having their way. And a lot of people that are pushing for the 49ers to win the Super Bowl this year, I know I'm talking a little bit far beyond.
We need to relax there right now. We need you stop that train right now. This train is moving. You need to stop that one right there. You need to stop that one right there, man. Anyway, continue. Sorry. I need to correct that right there. Sorry, my spidey senses got fingered. Go ahead.
Don't worry about it, bro. It's very wise to not
I got triggered when
jump
you said
to
Niners
conclusions.
Super Bowl.
Niners Super Bowl, that is a very paralyzing thing to
hear.
Glitch in the system, my bad.
Yes, a very formidable notion to conceive, absolutely. I would not go there. I don't even want to enter those waters.
I want to entertain that conversation. That's
Absolutely.
a nightmare for me, please.
So we're looking at this game. So obviously you mentioned the Chiefs are coming up next in week 15, or is it 16? Couldn't care less to me because from my point of view, they needed to beat the Panthers last week. And
we needed to beat the Panthers. This game, the Niners and the Panthers games were. I actually just spoke about it with our good friend Mr. Rice here, and I talked about how we were going to guarantee make the play. Like it was almost like a Charles Barkley guarantee, right? So it wasn't happening. But I was saying we beat the Panthers, we beat the Niners, we probably beat the Rams. I'll take a loss to the Jets and the Chiefs after that, but beating Kansas City if you can't get through Carolina and San Francisco, that's tough, man. That's tough. And the NFC is no joke this year, especially that what is it? The NFC East is probably gonna the whole division's probably gonna be making the playoffs now. So you're in a very, very you lost games you shouldn't have lost. You really shouldn't have. So
absolutely, yeah. And that's the biggest problem. We could almost date this back to when they played Vegas, when they probably could have had that game because Seattle had been playing really well until they lost a few games in a row. I believe they were 7-4 at a point. Doesn't really matter. The point is that they were on a roll and that they were doing something. Geno Smith was a star at that time. And now he's still one of the most efficient quarterbacks in the league because of his passer rating and his percentages and his ability to throw the football very well to his favorite receivers, Lockett and Metcalf. Lockett goes down. We might see him week 17. At this point, it doesn't really matter because if he comes back, this is just like the Cooper Kupp situation. McVay is thinking, why would I bring Kupp back for week 18 against the Seahawks, right? So I think that's the case. Obviously, it doesn't matter a whole lot. Last night, Lockett and Metcalf played really well, but we've got to also. I want to take a little bit of time here and just talk a little bit about the first few drives for the Seahawks. So they start the ball on the first half. So Seattle, their first drive, they got a first down, and then after that they punted on 3rd and 10. Second drive, it was a 3 and out. They punted 3rd and 12. Third drive, they punted on 3rd and 18. It was a 3 and out. And then Geno, fourth drive, Geno runs for about 20 yards, feeds Metcalf a couple times, and then we see our first Jason Myers appearance, which I actually mentioned earlier this week. I mentioned that it would be a blessing if we see Jason Myers at least twice this week because the 49ers in their last 4 games coming into last night, they had averaged only 8.5 points per game. That's not even a touchdown and a field goal, my friend. So, What do you think about the start to that game? And obviously, the final score is irrelevant because
they scored a touchdown. Like the touchdown was, basically a minute left in the game.
Absolutely.
I don't know. I thought it was disappointing. You know, when you have a team like when you're playing a team like San Francisco who's already down by a lot. Don't get me wrong, they have momentum. Like if you're beating Tom Brady in the Bucks, like it's not just any win. It's I don't care if Bucks are just not as good as they used to be, right? But I think with that first half, it was frustrating to watch because you're watching San Francisco's defense just put on a clinic, to be honest with you, and then you're watching an offense that's barely stitched together in the past couple of weeks just score and what is it 21-0 at the first half essentially, but it's essentially just like we're basically down by two touchdowns, right? So defensively, we were stripped by a lot. And then San Francisco just managed to get it done. I mean, even if you look at, I mean, defensively, even in terms of Seattle, like a lot of some of the touchdowns that San Francisco was getting, and a lot of the catches they were getting were just wide open catches where no one was covering. So when you have stuff like that happening, I wouldn't it can be debated as to whether it's complacency on Seattle's end or if it's just San Francisco just when you come in with a new strategy and a new thing and that no one can really prepare for, right? It could be one of those things, but I think that first half was frustrating to watch because you're just watching this team not be able to get through a defense and a team who you imagine should be easier to get through.